Good morning, my friends. I'm Pastor Ben Hayes from First Baptist Church, Dadeville, Alabama, bringing you our thought for the day. On a dreary Monday morning, I'm telling you, it is cloudy, and I wish it would rain, but apparently there's no rain, just clouds in our future for today. But what a great day it is, because this is the day the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. I hope you will too. Join me in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, and we've got reason to rejoice because Paul is talking about this resurrection body that we have been promised, because Jesus was the first fruits of the resurrection, meaning there would be others that would come, talking about those who have trusted in Jesus as Lord and Savior of their lives. We've been given the promise, the hope, the assurance that when we die, when we leave this world, we will have a resurrection body. I think it's going to be just like Jesus when he came back from the dead, and he was able to eat, and he was able to appear, and he was able to disappear. I don't know all the details, but Paul tells us a little bit about it. We're picking up in 1 Corinthians 15, and I want to start in verse 38, even though we talked about that last week. He says, "But God gives it a body as he pleases, and to each seed its own body." Well, he's talking about real seeds at that point, but it's true for us too, because Paul is comparing the resurrection body to a plant that must die to itself, and then when it returns, when it comes back as the plant, it is something different than the seed. Same as with our resurrection body. Now look what he says. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of animals, another of fish, and another of birds. Now what he's talking about here is even in this creation, we see this different idea of a body. Our body is not the same as a plant. Our body is not the same as fish. Our body is not the same as birds. Our body is not the same as animals. They're all different kinds of flesh that he's talking about. Then he says there are also celestial bodies and terrestrial bodies. We're talking about the stars, the sun, the moon, and the earth. All right, celestial bodies and terrestrial bodies. But the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. I mean, isn't it great to look at the stars at night and think about the magnificence of God, the glory that is there? But then we look around in this earth and we see the beauty of this creation, and the glory is there as well. But it's different kind of glory. He says there's the glory of the sun, another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars, for one star differs from another star in glory. What a powerful truth that he's giving us here. He said all of creation tells us that there's this tremendous variety in God's perfect plan for how he created everything, for how he gave the beauty that is there. And everything is so different because God is so infinitely creative in his thoughts, in his purposes, and in his abilities. And then look at what he says in verse 42. So also is the resurrection of the dead. Infinitely creative. God is going to give us that resurrection body, and it is going to be so different than what we're experiencing now. Listen, I woke up this morning, my hip hurt, my knee hurt, my head hurt a little bit. I was hungry. I needed to eat. I was tired still. You know what? When I get this resurrection body that's promised, I won't have any of that. I won't have any of that. That's what he's talking about here. Listen to this. He says, the body is sown in corruption. It is raised in incorruption. That's why I've got gray hair. That's why I've got aches and pains. Same thing for you. This corruptible body that is corrupted by our sin, that is corrupted by our bad habits, that is corrupted by the fact that we're just human beings living in a world that is decaying, and our bodies are decaying. It was sown in corruption, but when it's raised, it'll be raised in incorruption. Perfect. No more sin, no more sorrow, no more sickness, no more sadness, no more death. Everything is going to be perfect. Look, verse 43. It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. The glory of God, the glory of his Son, Jesus Christ. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power. And he's talking about spiritual weakness and spiritual power. He's talking about physical weakness and physical power. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be like the Incredible Hulk and able to lift giant buildings and all of those kinds of things, but there will be no more weakness whatsoever. It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. What does that mean? I can't tell you. other than the fact that it's going to be perfect. It's going to be like what Jesus experienced when he rose from the dead. Isn't this a wonderful promise? I know I've repeated myself a lot this morning, but this is such a glorious promise. Listen, when this happens, as a child of God, understand everything is going to be perfect. Think about that today. Be blessed, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.